My next guest is an email marketing strategist, copywriter, and tech expert who helps bloggers and content creators make a lasting first impression through automated welcome and nurture sequences. She helps her clients build intentional email strategies that engage readers, build brand loyalty, and optimize conversions for sales and traffic. We love to hear that. She's the host of the Happy Subscribers podcast, holds the coveted spot as the email marketing industry expert for the Food Blogger Pro membership community, is a recommended expert through NerdPress, a trusted Mediavine partner, and recognized as a KIT-approved expert. Today we're going to be talking about email marketing and how you can build relationships with your audience, starting at the very first interaction with Allea Grummert. Allea, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Rich. What a delightful intonation with your introduction. I love it.
I was just feeling energized by your sweater with the crossed cherries, because my daughter Maya is a huge cherry person, and that's we always get our gifts with cherries on it.
Oh my gosh. You can show her this. I thrifted it for about $1, and it's the softest piece of clothing that I own. It has a cute little collared neck and everything. Love my little vintage pieces.
She would actually love the fact that it's vintage too. She hates buying anything new. Everything has to be vintage. Offline, I'll tell you the story of how I had to spend 5 hours getting a bed frame from another state because it was already used, so that made it acceptable.
She's protecting the environment.
She absolutely is, except for the $80 in gas we spent getting them back.
I see it. I see that maybe it doesn't line up.
So getting back to email marketing. Yeah. How did you get started focusing on email marketing, and what drew you specifically to automations like welcome sequences?
Oh man, the origin story. So I actually started out as a personal finance blogger in May of 2016. I started my blog while everybody else, I swear, was out on a boat for Memorial Day. I was like, I don't have a boat. So I watched Gilmore Girls and I created a website. And that's how I got into the online space. And then within 2 years, not even, a year and a half later, I decided to go part-time at my job and pursue self-employment. I joke that I listened to one too many podcasts about how you can start your own business. And I was like, shoot, guess I got to try. And so, I started Duet. And early on, I knew I needed to niche down. And honestly, email was something that came really easily for me. And I had helped a friend of mine with her agency and her clients. She'd say, eventually it was like, Allea, can I bring on this client and will you help me help them? And so it had just evolved from this hobby of a blog on my own site to helping other people. And starting my business, I needed something that I could execute on and know that it was done. And so I built my business as a project-based service provider instead of retainer. I had actually started my business out of burnout and depression. I was in such a state that I was like, I can't have someone needing something from me Friday afternoons. I just need to know that I've done a good job and I can send the invoice and call it a day. Now we've set up to where I have a recurring service now as well, because I have an amazing team. It's almost 8 years in business. A lot has changed. But with email, what I noticed from the personal finance community that I was part of is that everybody had such awesome content already. They just didn't have a way of getting it to new subscribers right away. And I remember that people saying, well, I wrote that blog post 2 years ago. Who would really want that? And I'm like, is it still how you budget and how you'd recommend budgeting or paying off student loans? Has that really changed? Because I think that as content creators, we have so much valuable content that we're just not putting in front of people, especially the bloggers who are constantly creating new content. And so the cool thing about welcome and nurture sequences is that you automate emails full of your best content, most valuable, serving the biggest needs of people as they come onto your email list. And it sends out to them automatically as they join just over the first couple of months that they're on your list.
All right. So when we think about email marketing, a lot of us jump straight to newsletters and promotions. What are we missing by not focusing more on that early stage experience?
Yeah, if you think about it, it's actually the first time people are hearing from you. So the alternative is that they join your list and they don't hear from you until you send out a newsletter. But think of how much context they're missing out on. They don't know you, your backstory, how you're there to help them. And then without a welcome sequence, you're not able to answer their biggest questions right away. We survey our clients' audiences and we're like, what is Amy doing already that we really, really love? Or what are the biggest pain points or issues you come looking to solve? And we take the answers to those and we craft a welcome sequence that does both of those while also supporting, quote unquote, Amy's business of like driving traffic back to her website or making sure they know that she has services or a product. And we weave it all together. And so people aren't just jumping in midway into a conversation. They're being slowly introduced so that when they get your first newsletter, they have the context of where they are and who you are.
The first time I did any email marketing, the company I used doesn't even exist anymore. It was so long ago. And really, there was no welcome sequence or what some people will call an email drip campaign. It was basically you could customize that first message that said, welcome to the list, and that was about it. And if you didn't, this company would send out an email on your behalf that said, welcome to the community. It was very generic and things like that. So as we're thinking about that message, and you kind of did a good job of breaking down how you go about it, what are some of the things that we should think about when it comes to that welcome sequence? And I guess we're talking about a sequence. We're not just talking about a single email that says, welcome to our list, hopefully customized with our brand voice. We're talking about a series of events that are then delivered into their email box outside of any email promotions you might be sending, outside of any newsletters that come around once a week or once a month, correct?
Right. Yeah. And we actually exclude anybody currently in the welcome sequence from getting newsletters.
Wow.
We are protecting their experience. I often talk about the welcome sequence being like a brand hub. So people might know you from social media, or they may have found you on your website, but they don't necessarily know about all the other pieces that you have. Like they might not know you have a $5 guide here or a free discovery call here. So it really is a matter of asking, what do I want to make sure everybody on my list gets? So that's one big thing. And that could be just like a resource, a freebie, or they need to know that you have a podcast. Or I used to host these monthly roundtables. That was in my welcome sequence because it was happening like for 2.5 years. I hosted a monthly event. And so I just want to make sure everybody who's new knows about that. And I'm not just waiting and hoping that they get and open the announcement email. There's another touch here to make sure they know about it. I'd mentioned just making sure that whatever their biggest pain points or questions are or what they come looking for gets answered right away. So I work with a lot of recipe content creators. And so that first email is usually like, give the people what they want. Give them the recipes that they came looking for. And then the other pieces that I really like to incorporate is the know, like, and trust factor. And I actually used to work in video production. And we would talk about like ethos, pathos, and logos, the Aristotle's rhetorical triangle. And so part of it is also weaving in your backstory so that there's some sort of like credibility factor, as well as like social proof. Even if it's like, I spoke at this event one time, just piecing those things together so that people can know you and trust you from the very beginning. And going back to your question too, I mean, this could be a one email sequence. If you're just getting started, just don't overpack it, but just make sure it at least answers some of those questions so there's not a gap from like they signed up for your list and they hear from you a week later for the first time. I would say, I think my welcome sequence is 6 emails, and we write for clients usually around 5.
All right. So a lot of what you've said so far sounds like very relevant for an individual, like a solopreneur.
Yeah.
How might it differ if we've got a team and we want to introduce ourselves as a group of people working together rather than just a strong single personality?
Yeah, I think that identifying the reason why your business exists and repeating that to your audience, because they don't know. Like, I always ask our clients in the copy prep phase, like, what was it that was going on in your life that you started this business? Like, what was the problem in your life that you were trying to solve, or for someone else's life? Because that's the hinge point that someone can say, oh, I see that Rich understands me. He knows why I'm here. So even if it's not one person's story, it's your brand's story. And you can still kind of feature the people behind the scenes. I've written for companies before, like membership communities, and it's like, here's who you can expect to hear from. You're going to hear from all of these voices. So glad you're here. And it's kind of like onboarding. I think, I'm curious what you might want to include in one, Rich, because I use the analogy often of like staying at an Airbnb, and you have your local person who's got their folder here with the brochures and the notes of, this coffee shop is a 5-minute walk, or be sure if you want to do a museum, you check out this one. And so we get to kind of do that. But what comes up for you that you would want to make sure a bigger business more than an individual might want to include?
Well, some of the things that I think about, because we did create a welcome sequence, and right before the last week, I actually had an excellent experience with it, because in my initial email I say, listen, you're going to start getting these kind of emails from us, but I'm just curious, what is like the biggest hurdle you're trying to figure out right now? And I know that most people are never going to read that or do anything with it because people are too busy, but just last week somebody responded with an answer. I immediately responded back to them with a couple of things that they could try, and then said, do you want to talk through this? We ended up setting a meeting, and he asked for a proposal.
Oh my
Word
goodness.
is not in yet on whether or not we got the business, but that was like a great experience that only came from a welcome message. So that was really important, because he did not reach out through the contact form. He came to our website, but he didn't act except to sign up for the newsletter. And then this was the welcome process. So for me, I want to introduce people to the services that my company, Flight New Media, rather than Agents of Change, which is the podcast, offer. So we talk about branding, and we talk about web design, and we talk about digital marketing. We try and throw in some other things throughout the process. And yes, there's a little bit of the why behind that, but we also set, testimonials or certifications, all those social proof items that we put into our website, we've also included in the email. We just use a lot more GIFs and memes in the email welcome sequence, because we want people to know that we've got a personality behind
Absolutely.
the glossy cover.
Yeah, my team member, Kat, has pointed out, she's like, there's no GIF in this week's email. Do you want to, the people might not think you wrote it. I'm like, oh yeah, let me go do that. It's definitely a flavor. And I will say that there's kind of a purpose too of stating your intentions, your angle, your approach, your personality in your emails, especially your welcome sequence, because it can turn the right person toward you or the wrong person away from you. I've actually had the opposite happen, Rich, where somebody booked a call with me, joined my email list, this was years ago, and actually ended up canceling the call with me because he was like, I just don't think we're a good fit. And I was like, okay, it's up to him to decide. And that
just
goes
saved
back,
you a whole bunch of time.
It just saved me some time. And I'm not even that offended, because I know that what I'm putting out, and this is what I encourage you to do when you're writing your welcome sequence, of make it true to you. Make it clear who you are, what you believe. For me, it's like, I believe in the power of email marketing, and I make it really clear why this is an important part of running an online business. And if you disagree with me, or you don't like that I included this funny GIF, because that's my personality, at least I know that you're turning me down because of who you really think I am, versus if you feel like you have to have this professional persona or it has to be a certain way, it's going to be a facade for you and for the reader. And then when they do book a call with you, it might not feel like there's a match.
I also think that it's a great opportunity to give people quick wins. If there is something that you can offer them that gets quick wins and starts to build some of that trust as well, or somehow gets them involved in that customer journey, giving them something to do. I always find that can be very, very helpful as well.
What do you consider quick wins? I haven't thought about that in ages, but that is a great idea.
I think it depends on the type of business you are, but if you were doing some sort of health coaching, if there was one thing that you found that really works, if you're trying to get a better night's sleep, everybody will tell you that you should always shut off your phone half an hour before bed, but that's really tough. And one of the tips that I've used is I make sure that the phone is plugged in across the bedroom and my book that I'm reading is on the bedside table, and that's how I always manage it. I don't know, something along those lines. Yes. Except I would try and come up with something with SEO or GEO instead. But yes.
Absolutely. I love it.
Let's take a step back before even the welcome message, because you mentioned something important in the fact that we're looking to attract the right type of client and also detract the wrong type of client. They won't be a good fit. They won't appreciate our work, whatever it is. What are some of the ways that when you're doing consulting with your clients, for them to attract the right type of person to sign up for their list in the first place? Are there any sort of tactics that you recommend?
In general, you don't want your lead magnet to be too generic. It's a little bit different in the blogging space where most of my clients are, because it really is kind of a matter of mass attraction. So they've got tools like Save This Recipe, where you enter your email and the recipe goes to your inbox, or they're using Instagram, comment below if you want me to email you this week's meal plan. So it really is a bit more of a wide net, which is fine, because what they're looking for is a growth in subscribers, and recipes are a little bit more palatable across the board. That felt like a joke. Palatable, get it? Food. Okay, so it would be different though if you're a service provider, because Like, for instance, I have to be really careful. I don't have a lot of beginner content, or I'm not sharing a lot of beginner content on my blog even, because I am leaving the beginners to Amy Porterfield, Jenna Kutcher, whoever teaches on how to do email 101. I'm more of like 201, 301 and above. And so it's just more so making sure that you're not attracting the people who wouldn't be a good fit for you. And it's not that I don't think that that information is helpful. It's just that I'm a service-based business who requires clients who can pay a certain amount, and you just have to have that in line with the type of content you're creating.
Absolutely. So both before they sign up and then after they sign up, alignment is definitely critical, and these welcome sequences certainly give us the opportunity of letting people self-select or self-deselect if that's what they need. So how do you, like, we've got these emails, whether it's going to be one email or whether it's going to be 6 or more emails. Mm-hmm. How do we find the balance between overwhelming people when we're trying to introduce ourselves and our whys and our delivering value and quick wins, or guiding somebody towards taking action, like joining a membership group? Is there a balance? Is there a rubric that we can use?
That's why people pay us, Rich. No, it's really, and this is like my favorite thing to do, is that it feels like different puzzle pieces, because there's not a real like formula, like asking them to join your Instagram, like follow you on Instagram should be an email too. Like, it's more like prioritizing what definitely needs to be in there, and then figuring out what can be deprioritized to a PS or like a snippet at the bottom or a soft mention. In general, though, you want each email to have one big idea. And I would say no more than 2 calls to action in a welcome sequence. Ideally, the main, call to action might be answer, like reply to this question. P.S. Did you see that I'm also on TikTok? Come follow me there. So like you have your primary call to action, but a little bit, and it might just be a matter of frequency. People might, if they get carried away replying to my question, oh, heaven forbid. Like, no, that's what I would love. And if they don't catch that I have a TikTok until later, that's fine. But in that email, they're hearing about like why you do what you do, the importance of SEO, your angle on SEO, and are replying to your question. So that's what I mean, like by up to 2 calls to action. The other type of email that you might have is like, what are the best ways that I can serve you? And it might be like, here's my free offer, here's my medium, here's my signature offer, book a call with me. So in that case, the big idea is I want to show them the breadth of content or available options, and the call to action is to either buy, sign up, buy, or book a call, something like that. All right. So, but in general, that's why I have so many emails, because I don't want them to be too full. Like, I generally get overwhelmed with people when they've linked to like 20 things in the welcome email. I'm just like, nope, I need 2 tops for me to actually consume it before the next email.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So a lot of the emails that I receive when I sign up for something, the welcome sequence, feels very one way. I mentioned that we actually have this question that just the other day got a response, but what are some ways that you've seen that we can encourage real engagement, whether it's to get somebody to reply or to click on something, download? Have you seen some things that are working across the board?
Well, yes. I would say giving away maybe one of your lead magnets, because people might have come in through the Kit Creator Network, or they joined you on Instagram, but they don't know about my Airtable content calendar,
right.
And so it's like, this is really helpful in making sure that everybody knows about it. So, and I don't consider it super repetitive. Like, sure, maybe some people have received it, but maybe they haven't used it yet. But you're saying, and I always tell my clients, like, you are the managing editor of your own content. Like, you get to say what gets the front cover. And so if the front cover for this email is, this resource is super helpful, you want to make sure everybody knows about it, that's a really generous thing to do and to focus your time on.
All right. Now, once we start getting people to engage with our emails, is there a way for us to identify who's going to be more likely to turn into clients down the road?
Ooh, great question. So, another way to offer engagement would be some sort of link trigger or poll. So getting them to click and answer a question. So it could be, where are you at with your SEO? Like, I'm just getting started. I need to know what I'm doing wrong. And somebody else might say, just do it for me. And so what you can do is add a tag to anybody who clicks on those. What I do is I actually have a tag that gets added saying like, clicked. on one of my services, like the name of service, or clicked discovery call. And I actually have an automation that sends them a follow-up within a couple of days saying like, hey, did you have any other questions? You want to book your call here, with a link to actually book the call if they haven't. So what I've done, and this is where there's that, you'll understand, right? The line between like marketing and sales. So like you send your one-to-many email, but then you go into your email service platform and look up who are all my hot leads. Like who are the people who actually clicked? And you can create a segment of that, and you can go in and see like, okay, you get their domain, you actually look it up. You're like, oh, do I know this person? Would this be a good fit? I reach out to them and I create a Loom video and I send them a custom email through my Gmail saying, hey, Melissa, I saw that you're on my email list. I'm so glad you're part of my community. What questions do you have about email marketing that I can answer for you?
So it's really interesting that you say that, because just the other day I was having a conversation with my creative director. We were pushing people to get a free branding consult with them, and I mentioned like, oh, here are the people that actually clicked on your Calendly but didn't end up filling out your form. And he's like, how do you know who clicked on it? I'm like, because I go into the reports on MailChimp in this case, and it literally tells me who are the people who clicked on it. That being said, if you're in marketing, you're like, oh, that's cool. But if you're the other person, does that feel weird to you? Does it feel skeevy? Like, have you ever followed up with people and they're like, wait a sec, I didn't ask for this level of intimacy?
I don't know, Rich. Nobody's ever told me to buzz off.
No one's ever complained. All right.
No, I mean, part of it is like, I don't know, you're in my ecosystem. I kind of, and like, forgive me for wanting to build a one-on-one relationship with you. Like, and it's a Loom video. So it's maybe 2 or 3 minutes of me just saying, hey, so glad you're here. I just want to be able to answer whatever email marketing question you have. Like, it's not an outright pitch. It's, just starting a conversation from there. And even if they don't sign up, it's building relationships with people.
How much of this for you is automations versus doing things manually? Like, I think you're on Kit Convert, or it used to be called ConvertKit, now it's called Kit. Are you manually going in there, or have you set up automations and have scripts? And do you recommend one over the other?
Nope, I just have it set up as a segment that I can click into and see who my hot leads are. I have an assistant who, will have a goal of like reaching out to or sending a Loom to 5 people. And it might be people who attended my webinar. So people who like really signed up for something and then didn't end up buying. So it's like, maybe those are the 5 people I reach out to, or the people who took action on my Black Friday offer. Hey, do you want more? So I guess I kind of have a script. Like, I have a template where like I'll drop in the video, and then my assistant sends the follow-up, and it's replying back to it and saying, hey, I want to make sure this didn't get lost in the interwebs. Is there any way that I can help you? And I don't know. I haven't seen it be like wildly successful, but it's part of being like my due diligence. At least like in seasons where I feel like sales are low, I'm like, what's the worst that could happen? They unsubscribe? Like, it's worth a shot.
And then they probably weren't a good fit anyways. Mm-hmm. So I just want to kind of clarify this for anybody listening. So for you, you're doing a lot of, I won't call it aggressive follow-up, but you're doing a lot of follow-up. You're taking really good care. Intentional, much nicer word. I'm going to say my driving from now on is very intentional and not aggressive. But you're doing this in part because maybe this is better for big ticket sales. Like, there's going to be people out there who they just need as big a list as possible, engage, buy that one widget, move on kind of thing. But when we're selling bigger ticket items, and certainly websites or SEO for us are bigger ticket items, you're taking the time, like you're making this part of that onboarding process, even though obviously number-wise, most of these people won't necessarily convert, but you're seeing these people as much more valuable than just some automation sequence.
Yeah, and then if we're talking about people who have e-commerce businesses or, the high traffic type businesses like content creators, where they're earning revenue from site traffic or affiliate revenue, the same thing can happen where you have a tag get added if they click on something, and you send a follow-up email just like an abandoned cart email. Hey, were you able to sign up for those 33 days using the kit link that I sent you? What questions do you have? Yeah. And then in that case, it's only being sent to the people who've actually clicked.
Makes sense. For those of us who maybe don't have big teams, don't have the VAs or the assistants working for us, what is the simplest version of this that we can get set up and put into place without spending too much time or energy?
For what particular outcome?
For setting up a really strong welcome message, welcome sequence.
Honestly, just like make a list of like what are all the important things people need to know about you, your brand, your business, or your resources. Just make a bulleted list and then break them out into 5 emails or into 3 emails. Determine like which ones are most important. And then, prioritize. You might not be able to include them all in your welcome sequence. Let it be 3 emails. It doesn't have to be 5. I actually do have a resource for this, Rich. I could grab the link for you, but it's called Your First Welcome Sequence. And it just has you asking these questions and bringing to mind things that are really common for you, the things that you're so used to, but like these people have never met you. I actually was at a conference 2 years ago, Rich, where the person next to me didn't know who the keynote speaker was, and it was Amy Porterfield. And I was like, wait, where do you live?
Right.
Like,
what rock?
are you under a rock?
Right.
Like, how are you at this conference? This was a KIT conference and not know who Amy Porterfield is. But I think that that's a really helpful thing for us to realize is that we make a lot of assumptions about what people think about us. And this is your chance to show them what to think about you. This kind of goes back to when I went to school for advertising. We talk about brand perception and brand projection. The brand perception might be like, this is just the person I followed on Instagram. But the brand projection, what you actually get to put out into the world, allows them to update that projection to match what's actually true and what you've told them.
If we wanted to take one step forward this week to start to use a welcome sequence, what's the first thing you would recommend we start with?
I think you download Whisperflow and you turn it on and it transcribes you and you just explain your business and why it matters as if you're sitting over a cup of coffee.
And from there, what do we do when we have this Whisperflow output, which is
and
a well-designed paragraph or 5 that explains our why?
You drop it into your welcome sequence. Like it can be your one email. So all the strategies and things that I'm talking about can happen next week. They don't have to all happen at the same time. That's what I love about automations. You can go in and add an email. You can go in and add a link. You can go in and add a question. But if you were having a conversation with someone saying, hey, I'm so glad that you asked about what I do. Here's what I do. Let me ask you a question. There's your first email.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. One thing I am curious about is, how do we know this is working? Like, what measurement metrics are you looking at to make sure that your welcome sequence is doing everything you hoped it would do?
I mean, we oftentimes looking at open rates helps. It just shows people's amount of interest at the very beginning. And it's interesting because kind of going back to my advertising degree, we had different measurements of like, there's conversions. There's also just a goal called general awareness. Like you are just putting yourself in someone's space, because they've invited you to. And so it's just an introduction. It's like, well, I met this person at a conference 2 years ago. I don't necessarily know that converted into a sale, but they know who I am. They know that I'm a resource. Like that also counts as impact. And then I would also say like what we're creating for clients as far as actual like click-throughs and conversions, we're seeing an average of 9% click-through rate over the course of 5 emails. And so it also helps to look at that as a whole because one of those emails might not have any clicks, might not have anything to click on. It's asking a question. So definitely take that into account as well. I don't like being so enthralled with the data because click rates or open rates are not entirely accurate. Click rates can totally vary based on what the call to action is. But I will say, going back to what you asked earlier, I have emails in my nurture sequence. So further down into their experience where I share about your first welcome sequence. Oh my goodness, I've got like a 13% click-through rate and they've been on my list for 2 months at that point. So I do know that works. So it's just like, how can I be resourceful? How can I give you what you need right now as you've entered my space?
Awesome. Hey, if people want to learn more about you and how you can help them, first, where can we send them online? And I do believe that you have something for the people listening today anyway.
Yeah. So you can find me. My business is named Duett, D-U-E-T-T. So duett.co is my website. There's a way to contact me, to book a call with me, to check out my podcast, Happy Subscribers. It's all linked there. And then I have a resource. It's our Airtable content calendar and content bank. So as you're planning out your newsletters, how do you make sure that those continue to reinforce what you have shared with people in your welcome sequence? So I will give you that link. It's to include in the show notes. And it's also available on my resources page if you beat me to it.
Awesome. Allie, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Rich.